Hey, what's up guys, Junior. In today's video, we're going over the week of January 31st, 2022. This week, we finished up on negative 2.47 handles. A bit of a tough week. We had 10 trades, a bit much. I like to have maybe anywhere from 3 to 5 trades, maybe 3 to 6 trades, but nearly 10 trades. In this case, yeah, 10 trades, a little much. Anyways, let's go over the week. So the first trade we have on the review is the ES. So we'll go over the context of the 20-minute first. Right over here we have an upwards flow, right? These trades are not in order, by the way, so just in case. Right, so anyway, so there's a, wait, is this the right trade? Yeah, for every second. All right, so over here we have an upflow, and I was considering this to be the value area, this level, based on the volume profile and just the general consolidation. Then it gapped up. At this point here, the frequency is no longer going up. I'm considering it going down. So this is kind of my overall context or overall direction. However, the thing to note with this one is that I was playing for the overall context rather than the frequency. What do I mean? Well, over here we have the upwards flow, and this is already an expansion, comes back. I wanted to enter maybe on something like this. This is an idea that I'm thinking about, where we have the ESF trade. So the ESF trade is usually when it repeats the expansion trade. So right here, expansion swing tries to repeat itself, comes up and fails, and then you'd enter on this guy here. I'm wondering, well, what about this? So going forward, I'll keep an eye on it. Anyways, point is, we're starting to flow to the downside. Here wasn't quite an expansion. I consider this more of a growing. So it repeated the growing. It grew again, but you know, it's in the kill zone area. For some reason, I have this as a potential kill zone. My pink rectangle template is for potential kill zone, while my green one are confirmed kill zones. Nevertheless, came back, boom, one two-way pullback. I think last swing bro kind of popped up. We saw where sellers were. We saw where buyers were. They got refreshed. We don't have to necessarily swap that big. However, we did do enough of a spacing in between. Anyway, so what happened? Zoom, enter on retest, entering on the last swing broke. I'm not entering on this swing here because it's sort of not really a part of it. This is an internal swing. If this broke out and did a double breakout, then yeah, I could use a swing, but here it's a little different. It's an internal swing. Anyways, entered here with a stop above this pivot because this pivot achieved, and that ended up working out. However, I wasn't respecting frequency, and I didn't really get the target. It was a little ambitious. Now, what frequency am I talking about? I'm talking about this guy. So we take this. We can drag it down. Anyways, we drag it down, and lo and behold, it reaches it pretty nicely. Now you could use this as a channel trade or whatever. So it's using this frequency. It wasn't respecting it. RA4 to 1. This is a good potential target. Anyways, in terms of management, I'm pretty fine with it because I was recognizing how there could be a bounce off of here. So, and that did happen. So that was nice. Comes back. Perhaps I can reduce my risk right here at that point. However, I didn't decide to do that, and it was fine. So interesting stuff. Perhaps I could take targets here. A little sucks. It kind of sucks. Another way to wrap your head around this, instead of using kind of these not necessarily random, but instead of picturing these, you can picture a mod shift on here like this. So this is your A, B, C pivot. Oops. You know what? Let me turn this to green. Nah, it's not really good. Red, okay, red's usually, yeah, red stands out. Yeah, let's change this to red. Bang, bang. And then when you draw this out, it's describing the same thing like I had before, except it's just using 3 pivots or an ABC instead of using previous pivots. So it would be something like this. We connect this dot here, that dot, and this projects a channel like so. Actually, this would be a bit higher, but anyways, you get the point. Like this there. Regardless, it reached frequency, so oh well, nothing I can do. I managed it all right. This was a plus 0.32 trade. Nothing I can do about it now. Over here, so this is a little interesting. We have the expansion idea, and originally I was thinking about this one move idea, right? Where say you have a pullback, right? We're measuring a major, right? Major, major, major. Can we enter on a one move pullback? We can in terms of subtle swings. So this would be a good right side entry for the subtle swings. However, for expansions, I'm no longer going to do this. So it's an official rule now where for expansions, I might have pointed this out in the past, but I didn't. I was still curious about it, but it happened a few times actually this week where I get in a bit too early for the expansion idea. So expansion or no one move subtle swing RCs for the expansion idea. Oh, this is one move, right? And if we look more in the bar level, we can get some swings, right? Boom, boom, comes out, boom. The stop was fine. It tried to go, but at this point, you're not holding on to much, right? It drifts off. So that's the problem with this trade. So going forward, we will correct that. And this is how it looked. We had a nice big POC range right here. Tries to go. Ooh, nope. Or rather, it did go. I entered on a nice clear breakout. So notice how this is a POC range, right? And last week, we did mention how when we're in a POC range, we want to take quick profits. At this point, it's breaking out, so we're looking long. What was good about this week, I must add, is all the trades were in the right direction. They weren't necessarily against the flow totally. For example, I was not trying to short right here. I was trying to go long. Perhaps one could argue, well, you're going short against this. Well, I'm not going short here or up here or against this. I'm waiting for the market to go, and I'm not expecting the market to go all the way down here just to something along this side. So that could have been an added note. Take first targets when we're against a 20-minute flow, but arguably the frequency is going down. So anyway, then I took a secondary trade. So this is where it gets a bit more layered, this expansion idea. So the expansion idea 1, 2, we flip it, we enter it, tries to go, I reduce risk locally, and it doesn't work out. Now it doesn't work out immediately, but does continue. If the stop was behind the absolute low for the expansion idea, this would have worked out. And this is a point that I would like to make for the expansion idea. I'm having 2 different plays for it. One in which there's a defined level, such as this one, right? We have it going down. This is 1 2-wave pullback. It's kind of where the 2-wave pullback commenced. Not the strongest 2-wave pullback, I will have to admit, but it got refreshed, came back, zoom, something to land into. In terms of right side entries, I'm perfectly fine. But the stop, you know what, could have been a bit more. And seeing how the context of this trade is really a breakout. Look, this is a strong breakout. We're looking for a bit more continuation, even if it's just a wash, maybe up to here, like relative to this entire idea. We're free to go. We can take longs. Anyways, what am I getting at? So this would have to be not necessarily a double breakout, because this is just a straight up gap swap or kind of like a level. We swap the level. If it's a double breakout, I believe local stops make sense. Why? Because a double breakout, we're playing for a local expansion, or we're looking for the move to really go from there. If it doesn't, then it's something else. Whereas a bigger swap in context of an expansion, we have to be behind some. And I've mentioned this in the past for sure. I do recall maybe a month or two ago, maybe during January or during December, I mentioned this. However, I've been playing more and more with the subtle swings and double breakout methods of entering the market, and those call for local stops because the idea is it locally works out from there, not necessarily this expansion where it's much bigger. So, we'll note for the expansion idea, double breakouts, in quotes, press, can use local stops, right? Whereas, how do you spell whereas, or is it two words? I think it's one word. I'll correct it in post. Whereas traditional swaps require stops behind the absolute low / high we can just put in parentheses entire right side entry instead of just the RSC pivot. So in this case, the RSC pivot is right here. In terms of identifying where stops could go, I did that pretty well, right? The stop did work out here, did make a little bit of a new high. I wouldn't really call it, just came back to test these guys. But in terms of stops, say this was, I don't know, something else, right? Say this was in non-expansion, these were normal swings. So say there was more swings, it just happens to be kind of a two-wave pullback. Say we were following these types of swings, right? It was doing this, right? The market was traveling like that. Then yeah, I think so too. However, this is an episode of a counter-directional episode, right? Ideally, we're behind the absolute low. I believe so. I'm not 100% sure. I do recall, was it last week? Yeah, it was last week. This trade I took. Hold up. Let me grab it and I'll return to the recording. Okay, so we're back. Now this was the other thing I was having in mind. What about this? How does that relate to everything else? Right here we have an expansion, right? We're going blue, 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 doubles out. This is one move. Now it's starting to develop. Flips backside. Not really a real stop. Over here I said the real stop's behind here. Maybe it's behind this one. What's interesting about this is the gap swap, because this is a little different, right? We have, we could say we have this one where it's one two-wave pullback, right? Where we're building a shelf of sorts. We flip the shelf and we buy it. Whereas here we have a gap swap. Necessarily, this means price should really work out from here. I think that's the difference. So this is even another nuance to everything, I think. This kind of gap swap. Because this is a very interesting reversal pattern for the right side entry. Because really, if it goes back down here, then the idea is completely broken. That's kind of where the stops are lying. What is the type of right side entry, or what is the type of entry, and at what point is it no, it's not enough, or rather it's not right. So exactly what do I mean by that? One two-wave pullback, the market's going down. What could the market do? It could expand, or it can push, right? Type 1 like this. It can expand and then expand, continue. So say the market is down, right? It's going here, it's flowing, it expands, it can expand, continue, or expand, reverse. So from this point on, we can step up from here. So the question is, well, if we're doing expand, reverse, do we want to buy this entire stop? Do we want to buy maybe a potential kill zone? This would be more of buying the potential kill zone. It wouldn't have worked out, but I think that's the difference. Because this is just a regular swing, and the swing fails. Comparatively to this guy, this is going, boom, it jumped up. It's so slightly different because there's a gap here, and the gap is what I'm paying attention to. So I guess we can have the expansion idea. We have 1, and then 2 over here, right? And then we can have 3. Well, let's just reverse this, and then we can say, well, there's also, or consider, how would I even describe this? You could just do gap swap, gap swap, potentially calls for a different type of stop placement. Now, what's the other idea behind here? Because this is a 1 move, correct? And I'm not getting on kind of, let's say if these guys were, I'm letting it build out. So it built out, did some swings, now it's starting to swing. So that's the kind of the difference. It's interesting. I'll continue playing with it. It's not going to be 100%, but I think this is a bit more nuanced too, because for it to come all the way back down, then it's something else. Because for me, this is the last place it should come to if it wants to reverse. It could continue forward from here. It can come back, maybe stretch a bit lower. That's fine. That's why you have stop behind here. But that's where it reverses. This is the area it could reverse. Whereas for here, we could have it come all the way down to the try, then reverse. Because this is still flowing down, and it's a little different. It's not 1 move, then a consolidation, expands the consolidation, flips it, and then that's it. Very complicated, but I have an idea. All right, so this is the MNQ. Oh, so many low ticks this week, let me tell you. This is another good example of not buying the entire structure. Question is, well, what's the proper stop? So over here, what do we have? We have a blue swing, right? 1 blue, 2 blue, comes here, tries, fails. Now we're expanding. 1, 2 wave pullback. At this point, you're like, all right, we're back to the upside. And this was the problem with it. I wanted to use the blue. I wanted to use the orange as the level to trade off of, and it was good. But the stop placement, I had it behind here. Now, what do I use? Do I use the kill zone as the stop? Because that definitely worked, right? Or do I use the entire pivot like so? That's the problem with this one, right? And I think ideally it's the entire pivot you have to use. Could I use the potential kill zone? I could, but I don't think that's what I'm supposed to be doing for the expansion idea, because we do have a flow to the downside, and it could come all the way down and test these lows as it did right here, right? And very similar, 2-wave pullback comes, it's a bit higher, you know, a bit more spacing. It's a bit less subtle, but it did come all the way back down. Maybe this is an anomaly and I'm looking too much into it. Whatever the case may be, I got low ticked, and to put the stop here, I think there's a minimum behind here because this is where the potential kill zone, right? I think right here is the idea. I went over this idea in November time, just about, whereas we have the frequency, it's doing it, and then right here, this pivot said no. This part, these little guys, are just kind of a trip in the middle, right? These are late sellers that didn't get the memo. This is really where it should go down based on the frequency, right? And to put the stop behind here doesn't make sense because it's so close, so you usually just buy the entire thing. So if I wanted a local stop, I think there was a minimum there. Now, whether or not that was a good play, meh. The other thing to keep in consideration is what type of target am I looking for? Already here is a 5-to-1. That tells me something that's off. When you have 5-to-1s right off the bat, is the stop too small? I think in this scenario, maybe it was. And the only way I could play this is a deeper entry and a stop behind here. This week was certainly tough because the NQ has been, or every single market has been pretty volatile. And the NQ is one of those markets that I can trade 2 contracts, generally 1 contract as of late. But sometimes not even 1 contract can cover the scenario or the swings I'm trying to play. It's okay. Eventually I'll get a bigger account, but for now it is limiting this. You know, in the future it's going to happen as well. Whether I'm on 2 contracts, maybe if I get to 10 contracts, then I can really fine tune my risk a bit more. But as it stands, With that said, that's not the limiting factor for my trades. On to the next one. Oh yeah, this is what the 20-minute looked like. Fairly simple, right? We had a value area right here, kind of and continued. And some breaks, some fall into. It's expanding into it. You know, we're all good. We're all good. Potentially we have this over here. I did note this potential value area. However, most of the value came from here and they got stopped out or whatever else. And they went here. So you notice how it's like holding pivots. Same with this one. Like, yeah, it jumped, came back, but still hold or still held. It took out some of the short hands, fine. But the difference between here is, look, these are the quote unquote short hands. They got knocked out. So that's another thing to keep in consideration. We like cleaner, compressed zones, not ones that got violated for the value area. All right, so this is basically a continuation of me trying to hop on it again. I don't have much of a problem with this trade. I'll tell you why right now. This was certainly kind of a wash zone. Why? Well, we have 1, 2, comes back 3, comes back 4, 5. The question is, do I do this anymore? Because it's not the first time I've seen this using kind of some minors and majors as a wash. Later on, we'll go back in the MES, and I do have another trade, which, did I mark down? Maybe not, but we'll take a look at it. What happened here? Well, boom, wash comes 1, 2, 3. I do have a failure to launch methodology of types of management in the works. However, it's not concrete. What could be said about it? Well, I said 1, 2, I'm waiting for the third one to fail. It never quite reached. It came up here. But what if we count it like this? 1, 2, 3 attempts. The reason why I counted it as I did, saying that this was 1 and this is a second attempt, is because it broke my previous pivot that I entered on. However, I don't think that really matters in terms of failure to launch. I think the failure to launch has to do with breaking the pivot that I entered on. So this is the pivot I entered on, right? Or the pullback rather. And this is the high, 1, Okay, expands a bit, 2, 3. So for failure to launch, FTL, attempts, geez, kids are loud. Goddamn. Oh, they'll be moving out soon, so that's good. Attempts to, I don't know, to break out. Attempts to launch, whatever. Attempts to launch should be based on trying to beat the, I don't know, the high, or the P pullback pivot. There you go. There, something like that. So right, not some fresh attempt where this resets the count. Look, 1, 2, 3, take profits here, you know, something like that. Anyways, that was a trade, and I was kind of like, no, I'm going on. So look at the difference between this wash and this wash. Comes up, 1, 2, comes back, 3, 4. It's like that, right? Notice how we're making new highs, we're coming back. Whereas the difference here is everything is within a box. It's very horizontal. So I think that's something. Over here, what do we have? We have swings, arguably speaking. Do we really have a wash? Washes are really 2D level, right? I mean, we can have it on 3D if it's going like, whoops, if it's going like this, say we're using the upper median line, right? Going like that, going like that, going like that, you know, and we do this. Well, the difference is this is horizontal. Let me rephrase. This is geometrically 3D. It's not 2D, it's 3D. So that's the difference. Yeah. I think going forward, I will not. However, there is a counter example in the MES. Washes only count washes in their respective frequency. I'll fix and post if there's an error. This one, the frequency was to the upside, and then we're using a 2D wash. I don't think that's how it should go. Regardless, I took it up to the median line. However, I did note the management was terrible on this because already the target was here. I was willing to let this run. However, as soon as this bar prints, reversal, exit right here. Way too slow. It could have went straight down. It could have done whatever. Not to mention, this was close to the close. I noted here the graceful exit should have been taken earlier. I was willing to let it run, given it started to rip. However, it's about making bank. It's not about making bank in one trade. It's about a series of good decisions. It did eventually rip. Nice to see. However, the management was not the best. I did take profits, but that's not the point. The point is take profits right here, maybe one more right here. That's it. Later on in the future, I could do something where I have a stop behind here and I just let it go. But for now, it's about making one good trade at a time, building the account, that type of thing. This was my only winning trade for the week, in fact. I had a few break-evens or scratch trades that did net some positive, but that's not the point. This trade saved me for the week. And this is how that trade looked like. So what's this trade? This is the MNQ. I was questioning, oh yes, so this could be a possible variation of the initial trade for the expansion idea. Initial bump off the potential kill zone fails to achieve and starts swinging down. Exactly what am I talking about? Well, one swing, two swings, three swings, comes back up, potential kill zone. You know, already the observation is it should be going up relatively fast, right? And we have right here, it kind of reminded me of a few days ago or a few weeks ago where I tried to go long based on a very similar idea where I'm waiting for everything to come back before making the move. However, based on everything else, it doesn't do that. It does maybe like one short right side entry really deep in the swing, you know, really short right side entry really deep in the swing. It doesn't come back after it hits the try. It usually makes a new high. So based on the observation and the one line balance, of course, once this happens, could I just boom, short it right here? Maybe. Could I short it maybe even right here? Because this is where they dropped it, right? Unfortunately, I don't have enough of a stop. This went to here, I think. But regardless, I'm going to trade there. I think this could be something. We'll continue looking towards it because I'm looking for the frequency to achieve, to do maybe stepping up, then going, but it doesn't. These guys says no. Is this, we're starting to really break. This is, oh, we're breaking. We snap the camels back. And where did that go? Well, it went all the way down here. So it went to expectation, right? Went to around this guy. And that's where it ended up going. Nice little bounce off a noise filter, sort of. I'm just eyeballing this, right? We have the POC level. It's not super precise. It's just a general area. And what we have here, 1, 2, comes back. And I was thinking of entering on this one. It looks like a wash for the POC, right? We have 1, 2 wave pullback already. This is a bit more on the left side. Let me rephrase. It's certainly, oh, you know, on the left side, yeah. Even early. This is sort of calling it. So this is a wash. Goes. Really, it rips from it. Not quite the rip from the one line balance as much as I like, because this is pretty much the same. Boom goes. I saw this as double breakout. I tried to enter here. Did not quite work out. And it kind of just flew from there. So unfortunate, but is what it is. Wait, do I have that trade? I thought I might be naming these trades wrong. MNQ1, 2. Oh no, because some was on January 31st. Okay, yeah, I see what's going on here. That's why all the trades are out of order in terms of markets. Okay. So what was this trade? Well, this trade was pretty simple. So this is the expansion I was trying to capitalize on. It went a lot further and went beyond. And I considered this the one line balance. I consider this the entire volume. However, again, most of the volume is coming from these guys. What happened? They got shot out. In retrospect, this is the latest 20-minute value area I want to be looking at. Maybe from here to here. Of course, the volume's still going to be here, potentially here as well. But this is adding junk volume to the volume profile. In my observation, right? So, anyways, so what was the trade? It was to down here. Arguably, maybe I could have looked for a bit more of an expansion, you know. I could take if I wanted to be this brave, be brave up here, although I don't really see much of an entry, but regardless, it was there. No, it wasn't there, but, you know, came back, fair enough. And I tried to take a short, and doesn't go. Nothing I can do about that. I think it was okay. Going forward, we'll see exactly how this works out, because I'm not too sure, but I was trying to capitalize on this frequency, continuation lower, yada yada, and it broke out of whatever this was. Did expansion, it grew, arguably an expansion, but whatever. Goes, ooh, stretches, tries, fails. So surprise, surprise, right? And then I tried to go short on here. So this was what I was talking about, maybe letting this expand a bit more, especially when we're already counter directional. Of course, the frequency for me is still to the downside. And again, probably want to take targets relatively early. Still want to test something here because gap, come back down. We're not shorting here. We're not shorting here. We're not shorting here. Zoom. Okay, we can short. And what ended up happening, it continued lower. And this is a huge sin for me because I know this already. Expansion, right side entry, we want at the very least, if our stop's not behind the entire thing based on the UML or something, we want at least outside the frequency. So again, this is a scenario where the stop wasn't good enough, and this is the expansion trade. What's a good stop? Maybe something like this. Whoops. Where's my... Oh, because I'm not on the rectangle tool. At the very minimum behind this guy, but ideally behind this. At the very least here. I was treating this as a double breakout based on here, but buddy, I don't know about that one, Chief. Yeah, this one was rushed. It was a rushed idea overall. I was fishing for an entry, and that's what happens. You get high ticked, boom. I also don't like it when the entry I'm basing on this orange and there's like a minor and it would be a bit higher. Ah, man. There was a right side entry. Enter right here. Stop behind. At the very minimum, this, if not the top. Anyway, it's rough. Over here, we have an ITE, no, expansion idea. Oh, okay, yeah, I see. So this was the 31st, right? If we're looking here, we have a POC range, and I was looking for a rotation back down based on reaching the top. So I'm like, all right, let's rotate back down. What ended up happening? Expansion idea. I'm not looking for expand continue. I'm looking for expand reverse. Did not quite give it to me. It went here. So what ended up happening? Expansion, boom, reached the top. Pretty much. Arguably maybe the top's more here, but you know, we have this guy, so it was all good. You know, we're going. We have a nice one line balance, a clear level, zoom. I wanted a bit higher because I need the stop to be behind something, and did not work out. So I'm not too bothered by this as of yet. Maybe in a few months when I examine this trade a bit more, then we'll have more information on it. But for now, it's okay. And of course, that's the 20-minute chart. And over here, we have, unfortunately, another low tick. However, in this scenario, I'm okay with taking this low tick. This is the initial breakout of the POC, right? And this POC range, boom. So notice how I flipped my bias really fast. I'm looking short. All right, longs are on the table now. What ended up happening? Looking, maybe there was a trade there. Maybe not. Looking. Okay, we're expanding, right? Boom, expansion, comes back. I'm like, oh, what's this? Well, this is pretty horizontal, isn't it? Look, comes up, boom, nice and horizontal. Comes, washes it, return, entry. For me, this was a press in process, right? I mean, there's a bit of press there, but comes, expand, press. I was looking for a nice zoom, a nice fast move. Didn't work out. Decided to expand instead. Shame. And I think I even tried to go, oh, no, I didn't. Did I? This is the MNQ. I swear there was another trade for the MES. I think there was one more trade I didn't get at. Let me do a quick review to see if I took the trade, and I'll be right back. Okay guys, I'm back. I didn't take a chart of it or picture of the chart. However, I went back in Ninja and found exactly where I was talking about. So over here, we have some of the trades I took during the week. And we have a kind of a blue swing. At that point, it kind of grew. We can argue it was an expansion of these frequencies. Yes. But anyways, we're going like, all right, well, see it's doing it here. It kind of grew some more. And the question is, at this point, is this a level, right? Because if we go back to what I was talking about, frequency, but now See, like, arguably it's the same thing, right? It's all in the same zone. But do we use it? See, this is difficult, man. Because we could say, well, maybe this was a wash, you know? At this point here, we don't know yet. We're like, well, we could take the trade. Arguably, we could take the trade. Boom, double breakout. We can take the trade right there. So, I don't know. Can we have frequencies of mountains? It's a little different, say, than this trade over, where is it? Say than this trade over here, because this was already some sort of minor, right? Because we're following these blues and we're questioning, well, can it be a wash of this? You know, this swing, it grew, not necessarily a part of this one, unless we go like this. All right, if we use this, but it's not necessarily even a confirmed swing at that. It could be like an LSB. It seems like this was something, right? Boom, a gap from here. I mean, from here, it's like, well, you know, maybe if it comes back from this point, we can say it grew and we still have something. I don't know, man. I really don't. We'll have this in back of the mind, but for now, it's really complicated to understand the nuance. Oh well, not much you can do. Nice to see this went really all the way up here, but oh well. Okay guys, I hope you enjoyed. This was a rather long session. Of course, you have a lot of trades, a lot of comments, so let's just go over it briefly. So going forward, no one move subtle swing right side entries for the expansion idea, as well as some stops for the expansion ideas. Double breakout, a press can use local stops, whereas traditional swaps require stops being behind the absolute low or high, so entire right side entries. And the question is, well, what if about like a one move for the expansion idea, right? Or I'm talking about this guy. Oh, whatever. I'm talking about last week's trading, where one move, okay, then it starts doing something, then we flip it. Can we have that be a gap swap? Potentially calls for a stop that is much more local, not buying the entire thing. And for failure to launch trades or failure to launch management, attempts to launch should be based on trying to beat the pullback high or low pivot. And for washes, perhaps count washes only in the respective frequency. So if it starts growing a lot, this is where discretion needs to take place. It'll be very interesting how all this meshes together, but we are certainly on the right track. Anyways, guys, hope you enjoyed. Till next time, adios.